Are you ready for some football? Yeah, me neither. Hey there, folks. I am the Mighty Plantain. I'm not a huge sports fan, but Sam Adams has been putting out their primetime beers for the past few years. It's kind of like a mid-season one. In between the winter pack and the spring pack, we get these that are all football-themed beers right around the time of the big game. Can't say Super Bowl because, that's trademarked and I could get sued if anybody ever paid attention to this channel anyway. So, what we've got here is American Light, the Breakaway Blonde, Cold Snap, and the Postseason IPA, and I think we're going to do them in that order. The Postseason IPA might be new. I can't remember if they've done it before. It's a variety pack exclusive, though. I am happy to see the American Light in this pack for no other reason than that I've been wanting to try it. Because Sam Adams used to do a Sam Adams Light beer before they tried to replace it with 76 and whatever the hell it became and all the other different iterations of Sam 76. So the American Light is kind of like a new attempt at a light beer from Sam Adams, and I've been meaning to try it, but I haven't been willing to spend $12 on a six-pack. I think it's at least $12, probably 13 or 14 on a six-pack just to see if I like it. But it's in this variety pack, so now I can do that. We're going to start with the American Light, and what's really weird about this particular pack, not only are we seeing all these different variety packs only in cans these days instead of bottles around here, but the winter pack, I don't know if you guys, some of you watching this probably tuned in for my review of this year's Sam Adams Beers for Cheers, and I mentioned that I could only find it at Sam's Club. It never showed up in the Hannaford, which is our local grocery store around here, or Damon's, which is our largest outlet chain, whatever, for beer and liquor. And as you may have pointed out, maybe just we were never there at the right time and they sold all the winter packs, but multiple people I've talked to never saw the winter pack. So what the fuck? Did we not get it? Or did we just get it in such limited quantities that they didn't have it in stock, week after week? Who knows? But it's just weird. But thankfully I was able to get the winter pack at Sam's Club. And I'll know not to hesitate next time the spring pack shows up if I don't see it at the other local places. Anyway, enough about that. I already poured this beer out. Now I could smell it coming out of the can, and it had a very light, grainy, beery aroma. Now that is a very, very light beer. You can read the newspaper through that. That's the old thing from Cook. What's his name? Fock. Anyway, the founder of Sam Adams, the Boston Beer Company. Damn it, what the hell's his first name? He used to say it in every commercial. Anyway, that was his thing, and they used to use the quote on the tours. If you can you shouldn't be able to read the newspaper through your beer. That's why we don't have a light beer until they did. But that is a very, very light beer. It's extremely effervescent. I'm mesmerized by that cascade of bubbles coming up from that nucleation point down there. That is really, really nice. But it just looks thin and watery. And it honestly smells, I mentioned it, a light, grainy, weedy aroma, but there's that weird hint of slight skunkiness that you get from things like Bud Light, Miller Lite, and Coors Light. Don't get me wrong, those beers have their place. But it's a slightly off-putting aroma. Yeah, I'm definitely glad I didn't spend money on a six-pack of that. Let's see, we're at 4% ABV. I mean, they're right about it being crisp and light, but it's just It's not sitting on the palate well. It's musty. I mean, it's going down easy. It's somewhat watery. It's got a nice light mouthfeel. But that mustiness is just not working here. Yeah, it's just off-putting enough. I gotta hit this with a 2 out of 5. It's a rarity for a beer from the Boston Beer Company, for me anyway. I'm just, excuse me, I'm just not enjoying it that much. And it's probably going to go in the bottom of the beer fridge so that when everything else is gone and I don't care what it tastes like anymore, I'll finish the other two in this pack off. Yeah, it ain't great. Ooh. And the further in you get, that mustiness gets worse. It's like the stank settled towards the bottom of the glass. Yeah. 2 out of 5. I'm going to finish it up, though. It's not bad enough that I got to toss it. I'm not going to waste beer, but we're going to finish that up, and we're going to hit up the Breakaway Blonde. You know, I had an awful thought here. I mentioned the Sam 76 when I was talking about the American Light. Now, Sam 76 was their attempt to make a lighter, easier drinking beer. They reformulated it at least once, and when that didn't work out, they renamed it to Wicked Easy, and then they reformulated it again, changed up the labeling. It was originally like a pale ale or something, and then they changed it to something. Anyway, it's the same beer, and they kept trying to cram it down our throats because they would put it in every single variety pack next to Boston Lager and whatever other beers were in the variety pack. When all that didn't work out, when Wicked Easy kind of failed too, I don't know, maybe it's still selling to a select crowd of people, they turned around and reformulated our beloved Boston Lager. The fact that we haven't seen Boston Lager in the variety packs for a little while now, which is fine, it's fine, it leaves room for other beers, and I don't like the Boston Lager enough to be looking forward to it every few months anymore, because I don't like the reformulation. But what if they try to cram the American Light down our throats and put it in every variety pack going forward? I'm not going to be happy about that, I'll tell you that. So I'm hoping very much so that I am fucking wrong in thinking that way. But what if? Hey, I guess we'll find out. Anyway, Breakaway Blonde is next. This is refreshing and smooth according to the label. We've seen this before. I think it was actually in the spring pack and a couple of others. It was the bonus beer in the Sam's Club winter pack, actually. So I think they're really counting on Breakaway Blonde being a popular beer. And the Sam Adams winter variety pack at Sam's Club had, I think it was 5 beers instead of the 4 that the other places got, and Breakaway Blonde was number 5. I could be wrong. It could have been 6. Anyway, not worth thinking about right now. But it was the bonus beer in the Sam's Club version of the variety pack. So, definitely darker than the last one. This has got a nice golden color, a blonde, if you will. Less effervescent, there's fewer bubbles coming up, but also not hazy. Nice and clear. I don't know if you can read a newspaper through this one, but it's not hazy, which is nice because most beers these days, they try to make them hazy one way or another. because that seems to be the popular thing, and you don't have to be hazy to be good. Even an IPA doesn't have to be hazy. It can be clear. Neutral aroma on that. I mean, just a very slight hint of a nice weedy or light graininess, but not as heavy as the other one. I shouldn't be comparing one to the other. This should stand out on its own. Pardon. Nice light mouthfeel. Also smooth, somewhat crisp. It's almost got a hint of citrusiness to it. I'm trying to remember if it's supposed to or not. Anyway. I mean, it's just a nice blonde. I think blonde ale would be the style for this. Excuse me. It's good. It's smooth, easy to drink, fairly light. It's just got some graininess to it and maybe a hint of citrus. But nothing really overwhelming. It's just a beer, mostly just a beer flavored beer with a hint of citrus. It's good. It's easy, smooth. I'm repeating myself. I mean, but it's just kind of there. That's a good one for a hot day, a cold day, doesn't matter. If you just want to drink a nice beer and chill out. And I think I've said this before. I mentioned earlier the Coors Lights, Bud Lights, and Miller Lights. Those beers have their place. It's when you just want to sit around and drink a bunch of beer and just have the experience of drinking beer without being overwhelmed by different flavors. This is that type of beer, but it's better than any of those. So it kind of falls into that same niche. I'm hitting the Breakaway Blonde with a 3 out of 5. Now bear in mind, on a scale of 1 to 5, a 2.5 is average. So we have the American Light at a 2, which is just slightly below average, because I didn't find it very tasteful, and I found it slightly unpleasant, but it wasn't so bad that I couldn't drink it. The Breakaway Blonde, not really standing out. It's just a good, easy drinking beer, but there's nothing jumping out at me to push it up to like a 3.5 or even higher. So it is what it is. Slightly above average, good beer. We're going to finish that up. Move on to Cold Snap. All right, next up is Cold Snap. This is another big favorite for a lot of folks. It started out as just a seasonal beer, and it was one of the ones that took off so much that they've basically brought it back again and again and again. I think you can still get it in its own 6-packs, maybe even 12s when it's available, and we see it pretty regularly. Spring or fall packs, maybe either one. It kind of fits into either one because it's good for that cold snap weather. Here in Maine, that can happen even in the middle of fucking summer sometimes. So that is what it is. Now, this one is hazy, somewhat effervescent. This one's got, I don't remember Cold Snap having so much particulate matter in it, though. It hasn't been that long since I've had one. It almost looks chunky. Pretty sure it hasn't gone off or anything, so, but that's odd. Like I said, hazy, a little bit dark yellow, tending towards orange up here where the glass and the beer itself gets thicker in terms of, there's more beer up there to shine light through. I'm going to have to go back and look. Like I said, I don't recall. I know Cold Snap has always been hazy and possibly has had some particulates in it, but I don't think it's ever been that chunky. I don't know. I could be remembering wrong, but nice light aroma. Hint of citrus there. With a nice wheaty. I keep going to wheat because it's the only light grain that jumps to mind when I think of the light grainy aroma that I'm getting from a lot of these beers. A nice light grainy aroma and a nice citrus undertone. It's got a medium light mouthfeel. Medium light mouthfeel, but it's got more body as it goes down. Yeah, it's a nice light grainy beer with a decent citrus undertone to it. Unlike the Breakaway Blonde, where the citrus was just kind of a hint there for me, it's like it's a low-level constant flavor. It's nice. It's an old friend coming to visit. But again, nothing too crazy, nothing really standing out for the flavor. It's just a nice, fairly light, grainy, beery beer with a hint of citrus in there. Just enough citrus to make it stand out a bit. I'm hitting Cold Snap today with a 3.5 out of 5. It's a nice, decent, above-average beer that I would drink probably any time of year, honestly. It just goes with everything, and it goes in easy. I got nothing bad to say about it, but it's just not standing out from the crowd of decent, easy drinking, light, grainy, citrusy beers. There's just so many of them these days. So I'm going to finish this one up, and we are going to finalize this pack with the Postseason IPA. All right, last up is the Postseason IPA. Bright and sessionable. I can't remember if they've had this one before. I think they have, because if it's new, they usually say new flavor, not variety pack exclusive. So I'm guessing that it was at least in last year's Game Day Beers. And I think it was, because the Breakaway Blonde, was that new last year or this year or the year before? I can't remember how long that's been out. But this off-season football beers pack, I don't know if they've always called it this time it's Primetime Beers. It's usually Game Day or Primetime. I think they use the two interchangeably, but it's always some reference to football or, yeah, anyway. I don't know where I'm going with this. I think I'm just trying to say that when they put these packs out in the mid-season, it's usually centered around, yes, football games, and usually what you get with the Primetime or Game Day Beers pack is you get beers that have a wide appeal. Now, again, there's nothing stand out or crazy in the flavors, because they want beers that you can bring all your friends over and you can introduce them to craft beer if they're not craft beer drinkers. So there's no crazy 50 IBU IPAs or like a huge heavy imperial stout or anything like that. So they don't go too crazy on them. But that being said, I went off on a couple of different tangents there. But Postseason IPA, I believe, has been out at least once before, possibly just last year. Maybe in the last couple of years. Breakaway Blonde's been around for at least a year, maybe two, maybe even longer. But another nice, clear beer, not a hazy IPA. Again, that doesn't make a difference. It's just nice to see non-hazy beers out there again. Non-hazy IPAs, after just like a glut of everybody trying to haze them up. Sometimes, folks, the haziness is done in the brewing process and has nothing to do with the ingredients other than using, I think it's Irish moss or something that makes it hazy without actually changing the flavor profile of the beer. Anyway, a nice clear IPA with a light coppery yellow cobberish, copper-tinged, yellowy color. Slightly effervescent. And a somewhat earthy aroma. Almost metallic. Now, I'm mostly keyed towards citrus and pine, so when it comes to the hop esters, so when I'm getting something other than citrus and pine, it's got my attention. But earthy and grassy with a hint of citrus underneath. Now, earthy and grassy, I mean, come on. A football-themed beer. It's not like Jones Soda's dirt-flavored soda, grass-flavored soda, and sweat-flavored soda. Yes, Jones Soda. Micro-brewed sodas. They did a sports-themed soda. I can't remember if it was a variety pack that they put out or if they released it at some football arena. But grass, dirt, and sweat-flavored sodas. They don't make them anymore, surprisingly. Anyway, grassy and earthy tones on this with a slight undertone of citrus. Medium mouthfeel. And that hint of metallic aroma doesn't come through in the flavor. It actually comes through as almost like a tea flavor, like a brewed tea up front. And then as it rolls off the back of your tongue and on your palate, you get the grassiness, like a really fresh grassiness, a hint of earthiness, tiny tang of citrus, and then just a nice clean finish on it. It doesn't linger for too long, which is nice. Again, it's not a huge standout beer. It's a standout in this pack because it's got some character to it that the others don't. But it's also, again, a beer that your friends who don't necessarily drink a lot of craft beers or like the crazy flavors could probably come over and drink and wouldn't mind it so much. They'd probably finish this IPA instead of saying, I'm not drinking any more of that. That's awful. Maybe. I don't know. But I'm hitting it with a 3.5 out of 5. Again, it's a standout in this pack, but it's not enough of a standout in its field to get it anything more than a 3.5 out of 5. But it is a nice, solid IPA that's given me some flavors that I don't always get from IPAs. And, you know, if you're going to have an IPA tied to a sports theme, perfect. Grassy and earthy. So overall, the pack's pretty good. I wouldn't really want to see the American Light again, but the other three are welcome anytime. Decent beers, again, no standouts, just good, decent, well put together beers. I think the Postseason IPA would probably be my number one pick out of there, just because it's got some character to it. And it's a nice IPA, but you know, it's not bad. Flarg Newman would approve. If you get the Flarg Newman reference, hit me up down in the comments or the email link, but I don't think anybody who would actually watches these videos. While you're down there in the comments or the email link, let me know what you think about any of these beers individually or as a pack. Don't forget to like and share the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, folks, thanks for tuning in. Cheers.